What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Justin Ford podcast, where I'll be releasing life-changing principles and valuable information focused on all things faith, finance, family, fitness, real estate, and so much more. Let's go! What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Justin Ford Unleashed podcast. Super excited to be with you here again today. Hopefully you've been doing great since the last episode. Do me a favor, if you are loving the show, go ahead and hit the subscribe button here on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. And if you're really loving the show, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. If you haven't followed me yet on social media, you can at the official Justin Ford. Again, at the official Justin Ford. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and even here on YouTube. And feel free to go ahead and share this show with your friends. Got an absolutely incredible episode. Got a great guest in the studio today. But before we get into that, wanted to remind you that this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Nextdoor Lending. Nextdoor Lending is a team of professionals that believe everyone should be treated as if they lived next door. The founders and team members have more than 150 years of combined experience helping clients all over the country choose the best loan program to help you accomplish your goals. Nextdoor Lending is currently licensed in over 23 states and has a team of over 100 loan officers specializing in helping you get the best rate and terms. Whether you're looking to refinance your home or you're looking to purchase your next home, call my friends over at Nextdoor Lending today at 888-885-3667 or visit their website at nextdoorlending.com. Well, told you I have an incredible guest in the studio. Not only a guest, not only a friend, but a business partner. Welcome, Andy Smith.
Awesome.
How you doing,
Glad
my
to be
man?
here. I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Yeah, you know, every time we get together, you know, I always leave so inspired and lifted up. And like, there's a couple people in my life, and you're one of them that it just lights me up. And
I
so
love it, man.
The drive home, I'm going to be on fire.
Lit up. Speaking of the drive home, you came from the west side of the state of Michigan.
Yep.
You're over there. What area?
So born and raised in Holland. We moved probably 6 years ago to Hudsonville.
Yep.
And that was kind of strategic one for schools.
Yeah.
You know, not that Holland schools are bad. That's where I was bred. But
yeah.
I do a lot of investing.
Yeah.
So that brought me into Grand Rapids. So
Yep.
kind of Hudsonville, smack dab in the middle.
Yeah.
Easier to drive around. So
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was even just telling you a story. You know, Joy and I just went over to Holland to tour Hope College with our daughter.
Yep.
First time really being over there. And what an incredible and West Michigan, right? Even, you know, being up in Grand Rapids yesterday, you know, for the team meeting, it's like, it's different up there. It's different than it is down here in a good way. I feel like things are more laid back. I feel like people are a lot nicer. Joy and I just, you know, the whole ride home yesterday, we were talking like, man, it's like, it's different. And it just seems more friendly, more personal. I mean, have you been up there your whole life?
yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So Holland's one of those towns where it's a tourist town.
Yep.
So in the summer we have the Tulip Time Festival.
Yep.
And we get a lot of people that come for the Great Lakes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, but it's that cute, you know,
Yep.
town. It's got that, you know, movie-esque downtown
Yeah.
with the lights and,
Yep.
you know.
And they got
You know, that
Hope
type of
College,
stuff.
which is a huge draw to that area. But just West Michigan in general, even Grand Rapids, Hudson, like, it's just a cool place. And what I love about that area is it's surrounded by the Lake Michigan, so a lot of people come over there.
Yep.
But it's booming, right? There's a lot of great things happening over there.
Boom. There's not really a bad area.
Right.
You know, as real estate agents, we always get asked, you know, what are the good areas? What are the bad areas? I'm like,
Right.
well, can't really tell you and steer you into one or the other. But, you know, to be dead honest with you, there's not really a bad area.
Right. Yeah, there's really not. And we were talking about maybe we should get like a investment property up there and do like Airbnb. Do they allow Airbnbs over there?
That's a hot topic right now.
Is it really?
Yeah, so we're kind of going through that. So I'm on the GRAR,
Yeah.
one of their chapter boards.
Yeah.
And so one of the tasks that we're doing this year is figuring out and connecting with the communities and the cities that are on the lakeshore
Yep.
and what their policy is now and what their plans are in the future. Because it seems like it's always changing.
It is.
Where like Holland City, they switched to a lottery system. So there's 50 lottery tickets.
Okay.
And if you were awarded one of those, you can keep it forever. It doesn't expire.
Wow.
You have to hand it in and say, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's challenging because even if you stop Airbnb in your house, like, well, I'm not going to give up my lucky lottery ticket.
Right.
Because I might want to do it later.
Yeah.
So it's keeping new people from entering into that. So the
Just
city
50?
itself, yeah.
So they only want 50 short-term vacation rentals
In the city.
all of the city.
Yep.
Wow.
But then you go, so on Lake Mac, which kind of splits Holland, you go on the north side, that's Park Township.
Okay.
So Park Township generally allowed it.
Okay.
And so what we were finding over the last couple of years when short-term rentals kind of boomed, and made a buzz, I'm sure HGTV has shows on it or something. Usually that's what happens in it.
Yep.
It spikes. What we found is people were paying cash well above market value for certain homes. And, I lost out on a couple. I'm like, what the heck? And I knew the agent, and they're like, yeah, I was shocked. Like, we had to take this offer. Here's what it was. I'm like, oh, crap, of course.
Yeah.
And I learned, I'm like, you're never going to get that back out of this ever, no matter what market.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Right.
Well, they wanted it because of the location. It was a killer location, and they were going to short-term rent it. So the numbers made sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because you make a ton doing the short-term rentals.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, why wouldn't you want to do, like, why would you even want to do a 1-year lease if you could do an Airbnb?
That's
You're
what I'm
making
thinking.
so much more money.
Because I got 9 units right now.
Nice.
And we're on average about a year and a half we're turning each unit.
Right. Whereas,
and that's new carpet, new paint, fixing all the broken
short-term
stuff.
rental, even if you have to do those things, the profit is so much more.
Yep.
Wow.
And so the thing with short-term rentals versus long-term is the house is probably going to be in a better area.
Yep.
As far as like amenities and things to do and location, or you maybe have a pool and a cool backyard or something like that. So the house itself is going to be better.
Right.
Because you're making more money, you pour money into it. Where the rentals, not that I'm a slumlord, but I'm not putting granite in those things.
Right. No, not at all.
So with the short term, it's a bigger investment on the front end, but you charge more per night.
Yep.
And then you're cleaning it every
day.
Yeah.
Pretty much
day
every
or
couple of days.
days.
Yeah. Every time it turns.
And so people come in and they see this beautiful house, decorated nice in a good area. They just subconsciously will treat it better than if it's a tenant.
And it's like a hotel, right? You're not going in and tearing up a hotel in 1 or 2 days. I mean, some people might, have a party or something and tear it up, but like, people are rated even on their stay. So if you're a guest and you use Airbnb regularly and you tear up a place, that's going to be reflected in your remarks. So yeah, it only makes sense if you can make something into Airbnb. The return is amazing.
The only thing now is you have to deal with the municipalities of, okay, if I buy it now, tomorrow can I do it? Maybe not.
And that's Traverse City just changed their rules. I got a buddy who got grandfathered in right before they changed some things up there. So it's like, you're seeing that not just here in Michigan, but kind of all over the country where Airbnb is just being frowned upon.
I've actually started looking into Puerto Rico.
Yeah, so I heard there's some good stuff down there.
Might have to call AJ, see what's going on down there.
They're doing it.
Yeah.
I could even hook you up with a lady. She's not in our organization, but she's down in Ohio, and her name is Jackie Bowman. She's got an Airbnb down there, and she says that she's crushing it, and then just uses it when she wants to go down there for vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so what got me into the short-term space was we go to Disney every year.
Yeah.
My dad and mom took us to Disney pretty much every year. So it's just kind of
a fun place.
That's what we do. Take the kids there.
Super
so
fun.
we were staying in these Airbnb communities.
Yep.
And I always thought, well, if we're going to buy another house, let's buy it in an area so that we can use it.
Right.
But then the investor in me is like, they say, live where you want to live and buy where the money makes sense.
Right.
Or invest where the money makes sense. So I'm like, oh crap, why would I buy over here, pay a lot more just so I can use it 1 week a year?
Right.
When I can go to Puerto Rico, spend the same money and make double the profit.
Right. Yep.
So that's where I was like, it was a turning point in my head. I'm like, oh, I don't need to buy an Airbnb because that's where I want to be.
Right.
Go where the money makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Or if you could do both.
Yeah.
Which.
If it works.
Yeah. If it works.
But what I found in Kissimmee is where all those Airbnb communities are.
There's a ton of them.
You ever stay in those?
Oh, yeah.
Those ginormous. It's like an 8-bedroom house.
It's crazy.
We go with my brother and his family. So we just get one of these big houses. And so there's 2 families, 4 kids, 4 adults.
Yep.
And we have like 3 bedrooms empty.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are we doing with this place?
It's crazy.
But so before COVID, I could have bought one of those for $450.
Right.
Then during COVID, I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should buy one of these. Everything settled down, got business back on track. Then I called the broker I was using down there, and because it's all new construction, it was 900.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, now the numbers don't make sense. And he goes, to be honest, you don't want the 8-bedroom.
Right.
Because then you're going to have all these parties.
Right.
Big groups.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we were the exception that we treated it well.
Yeah.
But you get these, the neighbors, it was a group of 40, probably 35 to 45-year-old guys drinking and smoking, loud music. And here we are right next door with the young kids.
Yeah.
And so it's
not
like
the place you want to be with the family.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But it's crazy how 450 to 900 just in a handful of years.
Yeah.
It's nuts. So speaking of real estate, right? You're not only an investor, you're also a real estate agent. How long have you been licensed?
So I got licensed in 2014. And I kind of have an interesting story where I started part-time.
Yeah.
Physically, but mentally I was always full-time. So I was in the tech industry, and I worked for a logistics software company right out of school.
Yeah.
And that was 2009. So, companies weren't really like trying to hire and bring on a ton of people. The economy wasn't doing as good.
Right.
So they kind of took a chance on me, and I took a chance on them, taking a pay cut.
Yeah.
Because I had a couple other offers that would send me to Kentucky, Florida, and I wasn't that guy that kind of strayed too far away from the nest. So I'm like, well, no, this one's in my backyard. So I got hired there, but then I realized, I've always been a grinder in pretty much everything I do.
Yeah.
And so, I grinded to be the best at whatever position or group or project that I was on. And, I was treated very well. But then there was a couple key turning points for me that I learned corporate America isn't going to reward you for how hard you work.
Not at all.
It's more about who you know.
Yep.
And so there was 2 different promotions, probably spread out by a year, that I was specifically told that I was qualified for and I would get it. But then right before, either someone left or quit or got fired, and they said, Andy, you're too valuable here. We can't lose you now.
Right.
And I was like, really?
Yeah.
And so that got me thinking, okay, I've always had this thought where I want to build generational wealth for my family.
Absolutely.
And so then I was like, okay, well, definitely can't have that here.
Right.
But I still didn't think I was going to quit.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, where else can I go to create that? So that's when I got into investment properties.
Okay. So you started with investment properties before you got licensed?
Well, it kind of happened together.
Together at the same time?
In that process, and I'm very calculated. I don't rush into anything. So from the initial thought to me buying my first house was probably a year and a half.
Wow.
Finally it got to a point where someone basically handed me my first rental.
Right.
Said, Andy, you going to buy this or not? I'm getting rid of this.
Right.
Here it is. Buy it from me.
Yeah.
And so I texted my brother, who we go 50-50, and I said, I'm buying this house, going under contract today. Do you want in?
Yeah.
He's like, all right, yep. Let me quick start the LLC. We'll
awesome.
get it. But yeah, so then when that happened, someone from that company left to go to a local independent brokerage.
Yeah.
So I call her up. I'm like, Danielle, I'm getting into this investment stuff. Maybe I can just get an agent and then I'll buy my own stuff.
Right.
Again, still didn't think I was going to quit.
Right.
And so she's like, yeah, come over here, meet with these people. And they were great. And I still, the owner of that company serves on the board with me, the GRAR board.
Yeah.
And so then I ended up going there. In my first year there, just hustling nights and weekends, I matched my salary from that tech company. And I was there 7 years at that point.
Part-time.
Part-time.
And then, wow. So what were your thoughts after your first year? Like
that first year, I'm like, and you kind of learn, I love this. I enjoy this.
Right.
People seem to like to work with me, which is great.
Yep.
I'm like, that's my calling. And it was almost like that aha moment that you get where I come from the generation. It's like, okay, graduate, go to college, get a job in that field and ride it out.
Ride it out.
If you want to invest, put some stocks away, but just stay the course.
Yep.
And so, so then I'm like, okay, this is probably not my forever.
Right.
And so and then it took another year and a half for me to actually quit.
So you did another year and a half at the job.
Yep. So that next year I did 1.5 times my salary.
Wow.
Then that third year I did 3 times my salary, and I was part-time for half that year.
And at that point, you're just like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
At that point, you realized you were leaving money on the table because you could only do it part-time and not full-time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that first full year from January to December in real estate, I did 5 times my salary. I had been there then 9 years.
Wow.
That was the aha moment.
And you never looked back.
Never looked back.
What year was that?
2017 was when I quit, and 2018 was my first full year. Yep.
So 18, 19, COVID hits, right? And that was a tough year for a lot of people.
Yep.
And so in real estate, crushing it. You're obviously doing it on your own, because do you have a team, or are you kind of a...
so I did.
Did you try starting a team?
I did.
Okay.
And I think I could have figured it out, but I learned it wasn't for me.
Yep.
And, I quit that job, just went through all this to be free and do my own thing.
Right.
So, but I had a marketing degree. So I always, right out of the gate, I'm like, okay, brand, logo.
Right.
How does the public view me?
Right.
So instantly secured AndySmithGroup.com, Andy Smith Group, swag, logo, all this stuff, even though it's just me.
Yeah. Yep.
I threw Nicole in a couple pictures so that people thought like there was more than one person, but it was just me.
Yeah.
Didn't have an assistant or transaction coordinator, nothing.
Yep.
Then I hired my dad on.
Yeah.
And then I learned that I wasn't a good coach
/ manager.
I was a good mentor.
Yeah.
Like, I'll help you.
Yeah.
You need help? Come here. I'll spend the day with you. But I'm not going to set like a training program and all right, now you've graduated and move on to this. That just wasn't something that
you were able to identify where your strengths were and where your strengths weren't.
Yep.
And that kind of helped you to focus on moving forward.
Yeah. Then you learn other people's personalities.
Right.
And so then I learned what my dad liked and what he didn't like. He's super awesome at talking to people, building relationships. So he loves showing houses, doing open houses.
Yep.
But then when it came to the contracts, he's from a different generation where, we whip out our phones. We know all the shortcuts and stuff. That generation doesn't. They have to learn it. So to kind of get him up to speed on how quickly, real estate technologies come, that was a challenge, and I was finding that I was spending a lot of time on that. And then he was getting frustrated, and it just wasn't going in the direction we needed it to go in.
Yeah.
So I ended up saying, all right, I'm just going to back off is my thing.
Yep.
Rebranded, just Andy Smith Realtor.
Focus on production.
Yep.
And I remember when I was with Jeff Glover, he always used to say, it's hard to produce at a high level and be a team leader, right?
Right.
You're going to do one or the other well, and if you try to do both, you're not going to do either one well, right? And that was the same thing for me. When I went through the process of starting my own brokerage and growing this thing, I realized I didn't want to be that manager, the one, carrying the lead and doing all of those things. And then at the end of the day, the liability was on me. And at the end of 2018, I made a decision to go back into full-time production because that's where I knew I was good, right? And so that's interesting. And so you, now how many companies have you worked for when you got into real estate?
So I started with the company that it just happened to be Danielle went there, so I went there.
Yep.
And then I switched one time to another larger independent brokerage only because that first brokerage switched their model, completely changing my vision for my future.
The first company you were with?
The first company.
Okay,
Yep.
So now you're looking, where do I go now?
And I love those,
Yeah.
For me, swapping companies is a big deal.
Yeah.
Huge deal.
Yeah.
Highly emotional.
Right.
I've built these personal relationships with these people, and, I'm a loyal guy. So it's like, I realize you've poured into me to get me to where I'm at.
Right.
So I'm going to be loyal and I'm going to stay. But switch is like, oh, you're just changing everything. You never asked me, nor should you. You own the brokerage. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But here I thought it's like, oh, we're a team.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
But it's like, no, you're going to do what's best for you.
Right.
And again, if I was in your shoes, that's what I would do.
Right.
But then I realized, oh, they're going to do what they're going to do.
Right.
I need to look out for me.
Yep.
So then I joined the company that I was at until switching to EXP.
Yeah.
And I loved it there.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, if EXP didn't exist, I'd be there forever.
Yeah.
They did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Model's great.
Yep.
Management's great. Marketing's great.
Yep.
Brand is great.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, then EXP came along and kind of shook everything up. And
which it does for a lot of people. And I love what you said too. And I want you to go a little bit deeper on this as to why you came to EXP, because I think a lot of times with what we hear, right? Because we talk to a lot of agents, you talk to a lot of agents about EXP, and oftentimes you hear, well, I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah.
Right. And even Joni, right? I love what Joni said was she loved being at the company that she was at, which happened to be the same company you were at. And she cried when she left, right?
So did I.
Right. Yeah. And it wasn't because, there was anything wrong. There was just a better opportunity. And sometimes you got to leave what's good, to go to where something's great, right?
Yeah.
And so what's interesting is, and I found this out as well, is you had already been, being talked to about coming to EXP and the Game Changers by AJ, who brought me into EXP.
Yep.
And so at when was he talking to you about EXP? Because how do you guys know each other?
So we went to Central Michigan together.
Okay.
And there was a program for entrepreneurs called Student Painters.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's seen the signs out there.
Yep.
And so it basically just teaches you how to own and operate and start a business.
Yep.
Learn marketing and whatnot. So he did, I forget, because he was Detroit area.
Yeah.
And so he operated his branch over there, and then I did the West Michigan. So that's how we kind of knew each other. But so then he switched. I forget what year that was.
2016.
But he would call me, and we would talk, and our opinion on the value of EXP at the time didn't align.
Right.
But it was one of those things, and it was kind of funny because my wife and I would kind of joke about it every year because when you get to the slow season, the snow starts falling, especially in Michigan here. That's when most people are starting to think about switching, or maybe, I don't have as many clients right now, so I'm starting to think about other businesses and opportunities. And so every winter, I would think about it.
Yeah.
He would call me. I said, hey, I'm glad you're doing awesome. Good for you. Proud of you.
Yep.
Not for me. Super happy where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about it.
So you assumed you knew.
I assumed I knew.
Yeah.
But I never actually looked into it.
I mean, neither did I.
I was going off of, a couple, news headlines or what have you, and then what he was telling me. But this was the thing is, what he's doing at EXP is different than what I'm doing.
Right.
And in my head at the time, I thought, if I join EXP, I have to do what AJ's doing,
right,
or it won't be successful. And I don't have the intentions of doing that, so therefore I shouldn't be there.
Right.
And then end of thought.
Yeah. And I guarantee that's how most people think, because most people think EXP is only a company to recruit people.
Right.
Right. And some people like AJ go that path because that's what they're coming to EXP for.
Right.
But then some people come to EXP for everything else it has to offer. And so when was it that you finally decided to take a look at EXP and you just got that aha moment?
So for me, it was, I forget if AJ called me or I just started looking into it again. I forget what the catalyst was, but there was a point in 2021 that I said, Nicole and I brought it up again, and she's like, well, make a decision already.
Yeah.
You've been talking about this every year for 4 years.
Yep.
Either go or don't go, but
right,
let's stop talking about it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And so then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do a deep dive. So of course I'm creating spreadsheets and, formulas and whatnot. That's just kind of how I work.
Yep.
Absorbed everything from YouTube, all the stuff from AJ,
yep,
Brent, all those people. And I found that there were some inconsistencies. Mm-hmm. And so until I laid it all out, I found the truth.
Right.
And so now I'm kind of sharing that with other people.
Yep.
And it's just a cool little thing where you can plug your numbers in and figure out this is actually what it's going to be. I don't care about all the fluff and all the stories you're hearing.
Yep.
Here's the dollars and cents.
Yep.
And at the time, that's really all I cared about is I need to make sure that number-wise, I'm going to be far above where I'm at.
And not just a little bit.
Because
if you're leaving a place you're already happy at, it better be darn good.
Exactly.
For you to say, I'm leaving this and this is good.
Yeah. If I was going to save $5,000 or $10,000 a year, there's no way I was doing it.
Right.
The answer was a hard no. And so once I learned and plugged the numbers in, the opportunity was so great that it would have been irresponsible for me not to test it.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing that could happen, and I got to know the owner of that brokerage that I was at before, to a point where I'd call him a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really, really tough for me to leave that.
Mm-hmm.
But I left that saying, hey, if this fails, I'm going to come back.
Exactly.
I still, to this day, have all my yard signs in the shed.
Yeah.
I probably should just throw them away.
Just in case, right? We'll see.
You never know. It's like, hey, I got $1,000 worth of signs sitting out there.
Right.
But, now that I've been in a year, there's no way I might as well just get rid of them.
So you've been now with EXP over a year.
Yep.
And you came in swinging. I mean, you came right in, hit Icon, right? Yep. You hit Icon again. Last year, you finished in one of the top agents in your the Garrar area, West Michigan, right?
Yep. Top 100,
just crushing it. Who sponsored you into EXP, and why did you go with them versus with AJ, which is neat because you're still in AJ's group, just at a different
and that
place.
was important to me, given AJ and I's relationship and respect there, and just kind of how the whole EXP model works on the rev share side.
Yep.
So it was important for me to kind of align with him, and obviously that was the direction to go in.
Yep.
But there was a piece of me that was missing, and at the time I was talking with another agent that was potentially going to join.
Yeah.
And there was another group that we were looking at.
Yep.
And he did end up switching after and went that direction.
Yeah.
So for me, once I validated that the EXP model had exponential growth,
right,
that, going back to what I was saying earlier about generational wealth,
yep,
the brokerages I was at before weren't going to set me up for that.
right.
If I sold more houses, I'd make more money.
Yeah.
But EXP, I can do other things and create generational wealth that way.
Yeah.
So once I figured the numbers, okay, check. Yes, that's the business I need to be in.
Yep.
Now, who do I join with? Like,
Right.
who am I going to do business life with?
Yep.
And that was a piece that was super important to me.
Right.
I'm not a big office guy.
Right.
No shock. EXP doesn't have offices.
Right.
Even though we meet quite a bit.
Yep.
So I'm not like the hoorah.
Right.
But on the side, I do lunches and coffees and just connect with different agents from all sorts of brokerages. So having that community is important to me. And so it wasn't until I met with Nick and Ryan.
Yeah.
And I remember because we met at the Big B down the street. And I came home and I told Nicole, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
I think I joined the next day or started it that afternoon.
Yeah.
Because I said I already knew the numbers made sense.
Yep.
The model makes sense. The future, the direction of this company, everything makes sense there.
Yep.
But now it's like, who am I physically going to do this with?
Right.
And, we kind of just aligned with, Christian values and just the way that we operate business. And they just happen to be other top producers crushing it.
And just happened to be in AJ's group.
So
it's like everything kind of lined
It just
perfectly.
lined up, and I got home and I'm like, I was kind of, not that I was praying for it specifically, but I subconsciously was just kind of looking for a sign of like, if it's here and meant to be, something will happen.
Yeah. And you'll just know.
And that coffee, I just knew.
And that's awesome. Yeah. So you're obviously a part of our bigger organization, which I say the Grand Rapids EXP, that West Michigan group, you guys are amazing. And Joy and I just love hanging with you guys and being with you guys. And it's like, what I love about this model is, in a traditional model, you and I can't work together.
Right.
Especially with you being 2 hours away on another side of the state.
Yeah.
But because of this model, we're business partners and we can work together and grow together and be a part of something that's so much bigger. And I think one of the most important things that I think probably people overlook at EXP is the collaboration piece, right? To be able to collaborate with guys like Ryan and Nick and you and everybody else that's over there is like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And no other brokerage really affords that opportunity, at least the traditional ones.
Right.
And allow us to work together. Right.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because just yesterday at that meeting, I proposed an idea to Nick, and I think we're going to end up doing it. So I am basically sphere-based in my real estate business.
Yep.
90% comes from people I know or referrals or what have you. So same thing for him. And I said, hey, I kind of want to do this like summer bash event and rent all these like bounce houses and stuff.
Yep.
But I went to the company and they're pretty pricey.
Yeah.
Like double the budget I would have for one of my events.
Yep.
I said, should we just, set it up in the church parking lot? We go 50-50. You invite your people, I invite my people. It's not like we're paying per head on this.
Right.
And so he seemed pretty open to that idea. So I think we're going to do that. But it's
That's
like,
awesome.
If we were both at different companies,
or even at the same company,
why would we do that?
Because it's crazy. That's awesome.
So it's like, okay, cool. That's an idea that I probably wouldn't have ever done.
Yeah, and even in a traditional brokerage, like let's say, and I'll just use Keller Williams as an example. Great company. I always say they're the second best company. But even two agents at Keller Williams who are running totally separate businesses usually don't collaborate to create something bigger, because it's almost like competition.
Right.
Whereas here, we're all collaborating to work together and to win together, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And so you've obviously, you've benefited from a lot of different things of moving over to EXP. One of them is the insurance.
Yeah, that was a big one. So
talk about that.
So I have a family of 5, 7, 5, and 2-year-old.
Yeah.
So busy house, knock on wood, pretty healthy.
Yep.
So we don't need anything crazy health-wise. But we were paying $1,300 a month for Blue Cross Blue Shield, high deductible HSA plan, which is typically what, someone in our position would do.
Yep.
And and actually, to go back, that was one of the big reasons I dragged my feet on quitting. Because Nicole, we started having kids. She was staying home.
Yep.
So now it's like that company was giving me benefits. I'm going to lose these benefits.
Right.
That was a small mindset. I should have been able to see beyond that. But so now EXP is the first company in real estate space that I believe offers healthcare.
Right.
Or at least decent healthcare.
Right.
So I switched to that. It's now the same plan, and I pay $575. I started paying $635, and then this year they said, "Hey, we're gonna do the same thing. We got this other provider. It's now $575." So they're always looking for like, it was great, but how do we make it better? And then they made it better.
So that's $800 a month, right? Savings from $500 to $1,300.
Yeah. So it's almost $8,000 a year.
So if you $500 to $1,300, that's like $800 a month, right?
Yeah.
And so that comes out to $9,600.
Yeah.
A year.
A year.
So even if EXP offered nothing else and you just did the same amount of deals at EXP as you did as your last company, that's a $9,600 savings in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
But it doesn't stop there.
No.
You and I were having a conversation yesterday, and you looked at your first year with EXP, and you looked at, over there at your other company. Talk about how much money just by being at EXP you're putting in your pocket.
So, and we can kind of dive into the, how you make money at EXP because there's a bunch of different ways.
Yep.
So long and short was just copy and paste the business. So if I did exactly what I did, not
Same
a
volume.
deal more, not a deal less at the other company, I would have left $40,000 on the table.
$40,000.
40.
That's crazy.
Yep. Doing nothing different.
Nothing different.
Nothing different.
And when you think about that, like for you early on, it was like, I thought I knew about EXP and that's why you didn't go.
Yep.
For me, because AJ told me about it in 2016, took me over 4 years to go because I thought I knew what EXP had to offer. But when I looked at my numbers, owning my own brokerage, getting 100% commission and putting him into that same EXP model, I'm like, I can't unsee me leaving money on the table.
Yep.
And now I'm thinking, well, if I'm leaving this amount of money on the table, that's money that I'm keeping from my family. That's money I'm keeping from this or that or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like at that point, it doesn't matter what you think or what you thought. Now it's like, this is just a business decision.
Right.
And am I going to leave $40,000 on the table? And you and I were having a conversation about an agent yesterday where you guys looked at the numbers and he'd be leaving how much on the table?
$140,000.
$140,000 by doing not one more deal. Nothing different. Do you guys, are you listening? Hopefully you're listening to this right now, because if you've ever heard about EXP or thought about EXP, and you can have all your reasons why you may not be here, but if you've never really looked into this model or ran your numbers, you could be leaving a substantial amount of money on the table.
You're definitely doing a disservice. But I think the thing that stops a lot of people, and this is kind of what stopped it for me, is like the misconception.
Right.
So it's like, okay, cool, fine. I make that much more money.
Right.
But you don't have offices. It's all these people in the cloud.
Right.
I got to have this stupid avatar.
Right.
It's like, well, I don't even want that.
Which they upgraded the avatars, by the way. They're pretty sweet now.
See, I don't go in the world that much. I did when I hit Icon and started going in there and doing trainings. And I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool.
Yep.
I dogged it for a while, I'll be honest with you.
I did too. Yep.
But at the end of the day, that doesn't affect my business.
Right,
so
exactly.
Like, whatever, move on.
Yep.
But it was some of the misconceptions, I think, that'll stop people. It's like, okay, cool, fine. Yeah, financially, and, it's going to give me a better path for generational wealth, but at what cost? I don't want this, or this.
Right.
And so that kind of stopped me too, and I needed to kind of look into that. So one of them was, you think, okay, you got almost 90,000 agents, spread out, no offices.
Right.
I'm just going to be this tiny little guy like looking around for help. And I was absolutely floored at how wrong I was.
Yeah.
So like I had, right out of the gate, week one, some issue with my W-9. I must have filled it out wrong or something.
Yeah.
Popped into the workplace, click, click, click. It must have been 10 at night.
Done.
Instant response.
Oh yeah. Done.
I'm like, even my other brokerage, and I knew these people,
Yep.
wouldn't get to me until 8 a.m. the next day.
Right.
And that would have been fine.
Yeah.
But I was just like, holy smokes.
Yep.
They're working around the clock.
And I think a lot of people have the misconceptions of EXP from even like 5 years ago, because they had a lot of kinks they had to work out because they were growing rapidly, right? I mean, it took time for people to get paid. It took time for people to get onboarded. And now it's like they've really got their stuff in order. And I think EXP is hitting a stride right now. And it's like the best time to be a part of EXP because of where they are, right? We just came out #1 brokerage in volume and in sides, or
in profitability,
and in profitability, debt-free company, billion-dollar company. Year-over-year growth, I think, was 20 or 25% or something.
Yeah.
Whereas other companies are going backwards. I think for whoever is listening, at least owes it to yourself to at least have a conversation. Connect with Andy and
call me.
Yeah. And you have the numbers analyzer, right? You've created something where somebody could confidentially reach out to you.
Yep.
Put their numbers into this spreadsheet that you've created and literally see a side-by-side comparison of what they're leaving on the table at EXP.
Yep. And at the top, it has, do you need healthcare? Because some people say, well, I don't even need healthcare. I don't want to look at it.
Right.
Okay, cool. Check no.
Right.
Do you want to even do rev share? No? Cool. Check no.
Yeah. You don't have to do rev share.
You don't have to.
Like, people think they're going to come here and they have to recruit and talk to people. Less than 10% of agents out of the 90,000 that we have even participate.
And I did. So it was funny because when I sat down with Ryan, I said, I'm not going to recruit. I'm not a recruiter. Don't want to hear about it. That's not going to be any part of my decision.
Yep.
So I'm going to pretend like they don't even do recruiting.
Yep.
And so that's how I started it.
Yep.
And then, I had a couple people join with me. And then Ryan goes, wait, I thought you weren't going to recruit anybody. I'm like, well, I didn't recruit them. They kind of just came over. And then, I read some books and I started looking into it a little bit more about what actually is recruiting.
Yeah.
And it's the good way to do it. It's not recruiting, it's attracting. And so
that's why it's called agent attraction.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I look back and I'm like, okay, these other companies I was at, I'm not a recruiter. They have paid recruiters.
Right.
That they pay a lot of money to do that. But people join based on my opinion.
Right.
So that's no
100%.
different than I'm doing now.
Yep.
But I got checks for it.
Right.
So the first year I told myself, I'm not going to do rev share.
Right.
Well, the first month I'm like so against it. Like, don't even bring up the word. I'll get mad.
Yep.
Then I started realizing, okay, that's small mindset again.
Right.
Like, if someone, is interested, talk to them.
Right. That's
and
it.
So, the phone started ringing because I'm fortunate enough to be, top 5% agent. And I'd like to be out there and network and build those relationships. So when I switched, it triggered a number of phone calls and some people joined.
Yep.
And so I think I made like $3-4 grand the first year just off the people that said, oh, you're there? Why? Okay, I want to come.
Yeah.
And then now I switched it to, I realized, well, let me put it this way. What are we in? April?
Yep.
I've already
May.
I've already made what I made all of last year.
Oh, yeah.
Already this year.
Already, yeah.
And so, and again, that's not my bread and butter. My bread and butter is, I try to sell 50 houses a year, and that's my #1 focus.
Yep.
This, not that it's like a side thing, but it's, something.
It's an addition to, though.
Yeah.
You're already out doing deals with people. You already have relationships. People see your success, right?
Yep.
And they're asking, like, what, tell me about EXP.
Yeah.
Right? Or you're having conversations just at, how's business?
Yep.
Right? Or, hey, by the way, because if and this is another thing to me, is like, if you know that people can make more money here and people are leaving money on the table, why wouldn't you want to tell somebody about a better way? Even if they say no, why wouldn't you at least just want to say, hey, if I could show you a way how to put more money in your pocket by doing the exact same thing that you're already doing, would you want to know about it?
Ooh, I like that.
And if
say that again.
Yeah. And if they say no, all right, totally fine.
Yep.
But who's going to say no to at least look at something that could potentially put more money in their pocket?
Right.
Doing nothing different.
Yep. I find it's misinformation and loyalty.
Yep. Absolutely.
But it's like, you're going to learn the hard way if you're, you got to look out for you first.
Yeah.
And your family.
Yep.
And then.
Yeah. And I think it goes to relationship too, because I've had, even when I switched over to EXP, people said, Justin, I've been looking at EXP for a while. I just haven't found the right person to partner with.
Right.
So partnership is important, because even though I didn't directly sponsor you, and I think you're on my level 3
Yep.
Yeah.
I think.
We got 2 3-way calls scheduled for today.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're in this together. It's not like, hey, Andy, I know you're down there on level 3. Hope you're well.
Right.
No, like, how can I help you move your business forward? Right. How can we work together to create success together? Because when we do that, we're winning together.
Yeah.
That's
that was one of the big, so I wrote down some stuff because I did another talk in the world.
Yep.
And of what did you find that was the complete opposite of what you thought going in?
Right.
And the collaboration. I thought for sure I'd be on my own, and I was fine with that.
Yep.
When I analyzed it, I'm like, hey, I'm a lone wolf.
Yep.
I'm cool with that.
Yep.
So if that's what it's going to be there, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Make more money, do exactly what I'm doing.
Yep.
But what I found was it was the complete opposite.
Right.
There's more collaboration with, and I think it's just the way they designed their business that you're rewarded to help me, I'm rewarded to help someone else. To just lift people up, where other brokerages aren't like that.
Nope.
So unless you're friends with those people, they're not gonna lift you up.
Nope.
And again, we didn't know each other until a year and a half ago.
Yep.
And so I was absolutely shocked at how accessible you were.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone whenever I call. Set those 2 meetings today. You've done a number of them in the past for me.
Yep.
And I'm like, who would do that?
Right.
Because I'm just thinking, I'm like, okay, I got 3 kids at home and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I see you doing way more than I'm doing. And I'm like, but he's making time for me.
Yeah.
I was floored by that.
And I get that all the time where people are like, oh, I don't want to, and I'm like, no, like I'm committed to this, right? I mean, because I love being able to come alongside of people that want to grow and that want to build, and I'm available, right? I give everybody within our organization a link to my calendar and say, listen, anytime you want to connect, schedule. Anytime you want to reach out, I'm here to help, because that's what I'm committed to. You know what I mean? And people think and I am busy, but you make time for what's important, right? Yeah. And so,
well, even beyond that, because we're in the Game Changers group.
Yep.
So I was talking with an agent that does stuff in New York.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of the guys we're going to talk to today.
Yeah.
And so the New York market's way different.
Yep.
Luxury market's way different.
Right.
And I knew nothing about it.
Right.
So I posted in the group like, hey, I need to learn about luxury, high-end, selling Sunset, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then Janie reached out to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know. After we hung up, you're like, she sold like $1 million house or whatever.
She was the first person to sell $100 million house in the United States.
I didn't know that. I literally hung up with her, and I think you and I talked like an hour later, and you said that. I'm like, oh, I would have never known.
And she's in our Game Changers group.
Yep.
Rock star, making time for you, and she doesn't benefit from that because she's not even in your organization.
Right. Yeah, she makes nothing off me.
But
we are in the same group, and that's why I like our group so much. We have an abundance mindset.
Absolutely.
I'm going to help you. It's going to pay me in dividends. Maybe not financially from what you sell, but in other areas in my life.
Collaboration.
Yep. So it's just like when that hit, I'm like, this is perfect. This is awesome.
To me, I think that's the thing that most people don't know about EXP. That, you hear about rev share, you hear about stock, you hear about technology and in the world and the training, and those are all amazing pillars to why someone comes to EXP. But I think the one that I've enjoyed and loved the most is collaboration. Mm-hmm. And what, even when I posted the picture of our group yesterday, I said, this is a group of all-stars. It's like when you think of an all-star team and bringing the best of the best together, it's not like you have a team and just like you got one great, but like the group that we have over in West Michigan, all-stars.
Yeah.
You guys are all all-star, real estate agents. And it's like, there is nothing else out there that allows that type of quality agent to come together and collaborate and work for a bigger picture.
Right.
It's amazing.
I tell people, I'd stack our group sales up against any other EXP organization in Michigan.
Because what did the numbers just from last year, West Michigan, it was like,
I forget now.
Several hundred million, I think.
Yeah,
or
I got a spreadsheet, but
crazy between that whole group. You guys and then even looking at the state of Michigan stats, like the majority of you were in the top 150 agents in all of Michigan EXP. Right. I think top 100, right? Some of you guys are in the top 50.
Yep.
And so absolutely incredible. How can, if somebody's listening right now, so if you're an agent right now and your interest is piqued, like Andy, like myself for years, you thought you knew about EXP, but you wanted to know more, or you didn't want to know more, but you want to know more now. Or if you're an agent and you get a referral and you're looking for a great agent on the west side of Michigan, or if you're a buyer and a seller or seller listening to this over in that west side of the state, how can someone get a hold of you?
Yeah, great question. So you can go to my website, andysmithrealtor.com.
Yep.
Or email me at andysmithgroup.com.
Yep.
Or you can call me.
Give it out.
Personal cell phone, 616-218-0676.
And if they want to find you on social media?
That rings. This guy here, not an assistant.
Yeah. And how can they find you on social media?
Andy Smith Group, pretty much across the board. Facebook, Instagram.
Nice. Well, this was good, man. And it goes so fast. Right?
Yeah.
We're already 45 minutes in.
Oh, dang.
I know, it goes quick.
Yeah, that is quick.
But I just want you to know it's an honor to be in business with you, bro. You're doing absolutely incredible. And I know you have even bigger things ahead, and I'm excited to be on the journey with you, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Keep crushing it.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, another episode here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you reach out to Andy Smith. I'm telling you, this guy's absolutely incredible. He's a rock star, and he's doing incredible, incredible things. If you love the show, again, hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and follow me on social media at the official Justin Ford. And I'll always leave you with two things. Number one, it's not how you start. What matters is how you finish. And number two, with God, all things are possible. God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.